Welcome everyone to Providence College virtually through our Friartown Zoomed in program this afternoon. We really hope to emulate one of our really great experiences on campus through this virtual environment. I'm excited to welcome you all to joining us this afternoon to really understand what it means to study the humanities at Providence College specifically. As one of the counselors in the office, I'm very excited to help you through this college search process. And I know all of my colleagues in the office are eager to hear from all of you and meet you during our virtual high school visits and college fairs and things like that. But we are happy to answer any of your questions throughout this afternoon as well. We have a pretty quick hitting afternoon of programming. I'll go through a really quick overview of Providence College just to get started, but then I will let my colleagues in various departments take it away after that, going through a really great overview of what the core curriculum and development of Western civilization look like at Providence College. And then you'll hear from 4 amazing faculty members from the English and History departments and really give you that great understanding of what it means to study the humanities at PC. You'll hear from one of our faculty members on the Center for Engaged Learning and what those extra academic opportunities available to our students really include. And then we have 2 amazing students to round everything out with that real current student experience. I do happen to be a Providence College alumna, but a lot of my experiences are outdated, including the beautiful building, the Ruane Center for the Humanities. It was not there when I was a student, so we really want to give you that current student story and really answer your questions throughout this afternoon. Feel free to add questions in the Q&A feature at any point. That's the quicker way to have me answer your questions than the chat. And we will pause at different points throughout the entire afternoon to answer those questions. Happy to do admission related things as well, but definitely want to give you the chance to understand what it means to study your specific subject area at Providence. So the big things about our college itself, we are a smaller size school with about 4,100 undergraduate students. Average class size on campus is 20, and we have a 12-to-1 student to faculty ratio. And those numbers do sound really great as they do, but what do they actually mean? Our students really create those relationships with their professors throughout all 4 years of their experience on campus. We are Catholic college. We are the only school in the entire country by the Dominican Friars. So the Dominicans themselves really do pride themselves in education and education of the whole self. And you'll see how that really does filter down through the entire curriculum on campus, specifically our core curriculum and that development of Western civilization program. Providence College also really gets the best of both worlds with being a city school, but still having a full campus environment. Being located right in the city of Providence, Rhode Island, but being 3 miles away from the heart of downtown gives our students access to both that city atmosphere, but then having that full campus community, that kind of classic college look to it. So to get started this afternoon, I'm going to have Dr. Moffat come on and really give that full overview of our core curriculum, very specifically on the development of Western civilization program. So Alex, if you're ready to join us.
I am ready to join you. I can't turn on my video though, because I'm told my hostess stopped it.
Uh-oh, let me figure that out for you.
Not that seeing my face is necessarily the greatest attraction of the, but you know, they might like that.
You should be able to now.
Okay, and another thing, Elizabeth, before I get started, oh, here I am, wonderful. Before I get started, am I allowed to share my screen? Because I have a brief presentation.
Absolutely. Alrighty.
All right.
All panelists, there you go.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I know we only have 10 minutes, so I'm going to rush through this quite quickly. First of all, welcome. My name is Dr. Alex Moffat. I am the director of the Development of Western Civilization program here at PC. I'm also an English professor and teach in the English department. I'm happy to answer questions about either department, wear both hats for you. I will, as I say, try to get through my little presentation in about 7 minutes and give you enough time to ask and pose questions to me about the program. So let me go ahead and get started here. DWC, as we call it, or CIV, as it's sometimes called colloquially, is a course in cultural and intellectual history focusing primarily, although not exclusively, on the Western tradition. So most of the works that students will read are in that tradition, but there are many works that won't necessarily be in that tradition, and professors have a lot of latitude in bringing in the works that they think are going to provide the most for the students. And of course, we also have a colloquium section, which might not be even Western at all, depending on what your son or daughter chooses. It's a 16-credit sequence. That's 4 courses of 4 credits each. And if you're in a liberal arts honors program, it's 4 courses of 5 credits each. And we like to call it the core of the core. So we have a core curriculum at Providence College, and this is the inner core of that. And if you think about it as a metaphor, right? The core is like a core of a planet. The core is what gives it all shape. It's what gives it all meaning. It's the center. And so that's very much our feeling behind this program, is that by going through this 4-course sequence, your son or daughter will be centered here at Providence College and will use the skills that they develop in this program to succeed, not only in their majors, but also to succeed in their careers, and indeed to succeed as citizens going forward. The 4 courses consist of this. First of all, 3 courses in a historical sequence. DWC 101, which centers on the classical world, 102, which is the medieval and early modern period, and 201, which is modernity up to and including the present day. And then in their 4th semester, a themed colloquium chosen by students, and professors team up with one another, and they pitch colloquia on all sorts of different themes. Some are related to specific majors. There's one called Character of Business, for instance, that is useful for business majors. Others are maybe topical. We have a number of colloquia on, for instance, race in America. We have a colloquium called Apocalypse that was very popular last semester, and when the pandemic started, the course suddenly became very, very relevant for the students. That course is running again in spring of next year, and so students will choose a colloquium based on their own interests. The course is team taught by 3 professors from English, history, philosophy, and theology. I'm an English professor, so I'm currently working with a theologian and a historian on my DWC team. And the other professors that you'll meet today, the humanities professors, will also collaborate with each other. And one side effect of this, by the way, it means that we're all, pretty friendly with each other. I have a number of friends who are historians and philosophers, and so we have a great camaraderie, I think, in the humanities here at PC, and I hope that sort of filters down to the students. It's a 4-credit class, as I say. It's broken up this way: 2 hours are in the lecture hall and 2 in a student-centered seminar. We try to get 16 students, maybe even fewer, for each seminar to make sure that the students are able to contribute and are able to discuss. So this lecture hall 2 hours, they may not necessarily be strict lectures. There'll be some interaction. It's taken place entirely on Zoom this last semester. But 2 hours in the Student Center seminar where the expectation is that students will lead the discussion. The expectation is they will have read the work, they will have listened to the lectures that have provided some context. Now they're ready to talk about and debate the issues that are on for that week. In normal times, this is our Ruane Center lecture hall. As I say, they're entirely on Zoom. I just came out of a Zoom lecture myself. But when we get back to normal, which we will one day, your sons and daughters will hopefully be in this classroom listening to the professor's lectures. This is a seminar room, and we are having seminars on campus. That's the plan, is to make sure that the seminars run live. They're in slightly larger rooms than this right now. This is pre-COVID and fits about 16. In COVID conditions, it fits about 8. But we are meeting in person with the same principle, that is to say, student-centered seminars. And here's the Ruane Great Room. This is a very, in the Ruane Center for the Humanities, it's a common study area for students. They would pass this room on their way to the civ classes, and it's a very warm and kind of homely place, especially in the winter. There's a fire going usually, there's a Christmas tree. Some students have taken up to calling it the Hogwarts room because it reminds them of Harry Potter. It's just a very nice setting to study and work on civ. I want to give you a quote by the late Congressman John Lewis. And this was in his last essay, which ran in the New York Times. Maybe some of you read that this summer. It was published just after his death. And there was a passage in it that I thought really talked to the value of Civ and the Civ experience. And it's this. He says, Congressman Lewis says, "You must also study and learn the lessons of history, because humanity has been involved in the soul-wrenching existential struggle for a very long time. People on every continent have stood in your shoes for decades and centuries before you. The truth does not change. And that is why the answers worked out long ago can help you find the solutions to the challenges of our time." To me, this is why we teach this class. We'll ask the students to go back in time. We'll ask the students to learn historical events, but always with an eye for the issues of the contemporary day. For instance, just a couple of weeks ago, I taught a seminar on the French Revolution. But we also talked about sort of social unrest during the French Revolution, and we made connections to the social unrest in 2020. We talked about demonstrations and what to do in situations of injustice. And so again, we were able to make these connections across the century and have a real discussion and a real debate. And that's very much the goal for me of this class. But I want to finish and give a couple of minutes for questions. I want to finish with just a couple of statistics that I sometimes show to students. These are statistics about millennials, that is to say people born in the 1980s, older than our students, but younger than the parents. Only 30% of Americans born in the 1980s think it's essential to live in a democracy. This is according to a recent poll. 75% born in the 1930s, 50% born in the 1960s. 66% of millennials lack basic knowledge about the Holocaust. That's in comparison with 41% of all Americans. So it tells us that that our teaching of the Holocaust has gotten worse over the past 10, 20 years. And finally, in a study that won the APSA award for best paper, 24% of people agree that society should be burnt to the ground. If you're reading any of these statistics and you think, oh my goodness, this is terrible, this is a terrible thing, then Civ is the class for you. Because this is the kind of thing we fight against in teaching our classes. We give students a historical foundation, one that informs their understanding of contemporary issues and helps them as they go on in Providence College, whether they go on and majoring in the humanities, which many of them will, of course, or majoring in other topics. It provides that foundation, and that's why we think of this class as so important. Here's my email address. I'd love to answer questions about Civ if you have them. amoffat@providence.edu. I'd be happy to talk to parents more about this class. I said I would leave 3 minutes for questions. It was more like 20 seconds. I don't know how tight a ship that you're running here, Elizabeth, but I'd be happy to take any questions that you have now at the risk of running over. You're muted.
You'd think week 3 of full Zoom travel, I'd be better at this. Happy to answer questions now. Students, if you do have any about the development of Western Civ program, feel free, again, that Q&A feature is a really great way to get those questions across. And development of Western Civ is just one of those components of our core curriculum on campus. It's the one that really bounds all students together and is that bonding experience. It's always fun to be able to pop out of your freshman room dorm and say, you know, who else is reading the Iliad right now? Let's talk about it and figure this out together, kind of thing. There are other core requirement classes too, but this one definitely really highlights that humanities background of our campus community. If I could go back and do my 4 years again, this is the one reason that I'd definitely do that. I'm not seeing any questions yet, but all of the students do have your email address now, which is perfect. So
Yes.
If any new things come up, we'll be sure to send them along to you.
Students or parents, happy to talk to either of you. Would love to chat about the program. Sad I only have so much time.
Next time it'll be longer, don't worry. Well, we thank you so much. And to keep this afternoon running along, I'll invite our next panelist up. Thank you so much, Dr. Moffat. I appreciate it. All righty. Give me one moment to add our next set of professors coming in. Panelists. Alrighty. Give me one moment to make you all co-hosts so we can share your video as well. We keep saying in the office how we need to get like wait music going so that in those awkward transitions, we can have the fight song or the alma mater or something playing in the background. But I would love to introduce our next set of panelists, Dr. Andrews from the History Department, Dr. Reed, Dr. Fournier, and Dr. Graver from the English departments, all here and excited to share what it means to be studying the humanities at Providence. We've got really great students on the other side of the screen looking to study English, English literature, English creative writing, history, classics, which I'm excited to see as I was a classics minor in college. But if you all want to take it away and really just share what it means to study your programs on campus and why Providence is so unique and a great place to study those areas. And students, continue to use the Q&A so that we can get your questions answered. Floor is yours.
Go ahead, Peggy.
Okay, Ted, thank you. So I am Peggy Reed, and I'm newly the chair of the English department. And I've got two colleagues here, Suzanne Fournier and Bruce Graver, who've also chaired the English department. And we can all kind of tag team a little bit. Just want to, put a face to a name. So if you could ask me anything via a phone call or an email, which you can find on the website. We have three majors. We have English Ed, which is for those going into secondary teaching, essentially a double major with the education department. We have a traditional sort of literature major, and we have an English creative writing major. And all three of our majors are robust and have great foundations in both early and later literature. Our students are very successful in graduate school applications, all kinds of things. I mean, we have students going to MBAs and into journalism and graduate school, law school, even medical school. So we have a wide variety of outcomes. In terms of jobs, people go into absolutely anything. I mean, you can go into PR and marketing very easily with an English degree. A unique thing, and then I'm going to hand it over to colleagues, is that we have is the Alembic, which is a literary journal published in our department, and the students actually edit and publish it. They do the layout, they do the opening, they do everything for the Alembic, and the Alembic actually gets contributions internationally from writers all over the world. So they're doing a really professional task. They come out with a wonderful journal. It's great pre-professional experience. And it's something that is fairly unique among small liberal arts colleges. So let me ask Suzanne or Bruce, you want to jump in and tell us any more? Suzanne, you're muted.
I have to be told that once a day, very sorry. I suppose one thing that comes to mind, one of the things I really prize about the English department, where a department of really impressive scholars, all of us though love working in the classroom. We're fiercely committed as well, or at least as much, to undergraduate teaching. And one of the really strong features of our department, besides all the wonderful literature that we get to read with students, is a strong advising program. Anyone who joins the English department will meet a number of faculty members during the summer orientation, and will, before the start of classes, learn the name of his or her advisor for the entire four-year sequence. Often, a student may be matched with whoever helped her or him during the orientation sessions, or will begin working with new advisors when they arrive and start classes. It really is one of the great pleasures of the work that I do, to meet with students and to help them fashion semester to semester the courses they want to take. Peggy mentioned that we feature and ask students to take classes in earlier literature and literature published, 3 years ago, pretty much. We have a very wide sweep. Students are not required to take certain number of British courses, certain specific 1960s courses. Instead, they see the offerings, come to their advisors knowing what they most want to take and the reasons they might have for exploring other options. And with their advisors, they determine what courses before and after the modern period make most sense to them. And with advisors, they have all kinds of options for internships, for example. If they wish, they'll continue working with their assigned advisor. And sometimes a student will take a particular class, particularly early on, and find that she has so many common interests with that professor. So it seldom happens, but requesting a different advisor is always possible. I will add, I suppose I'm the only one, no, Dr. Andrews in history. I was gonna say the only one on the panel who is the proud recipient of a Providence College education. And I was formed in good part by the Providence College English department. And so I'm always excited to promote it.
I have nothing to add at the moment. I think Ted ought to talk about history and classics.
Thank you, Professor Raymer. So, so my name is Ted Andrews. I'm the department chair for the Department of History and Classics. As Dr. Fournier had mentioned, I'm also a graduate of the college. I was a history major and, excited to promote the program and the college in general. And it really is, PC is a really special place. So I want to thank all of you for expressing interest in it. So I realize I'm not going to be able to get to everything that I would like to talk about. So maybe a couple things kind of right off the bat. The first thing I'd like to do, if I could, is just put our kind of website in the chat. So if you can click on that, you can get a kind of a sense of what we are as a department. We have a pretty active social media presence. So if you can find us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook as well. If you want to find out about kind of programs that we're having, scholarships our students are winning, awards our faculty are winning, and things like that. We try to promote a lot of what we do there. So a couple of, maybe I start with misconceptions about history, because there are a lot of misconceptions about history. So there are two kind of major ones, right? I think the first is that people often think that history is just kind of like names and dates and facts and things like that. And I have to confess that I'm actually really terrible at pub trivia. I'm not that good with the names and the dates and the facts and things like that. For my field, I am obviously, but for other areas, not so much. And that's largely because history is not about kind of memorization. A lot of the history that has been taught a lot of times kind of going into college is about kind of memorizing those things, but that's not really what it's about. It's about analysis, interpretation, trying to develop meaning out of sources, try to create answers for why we are in the state that we are at this particular moment and things like that. And so, when you come to PC, and if you do take classes in or major or minor in anything within history and classics, you'll be kind of steeped in those traditions and those skills of analysis, writing, research, scholarship, and all those things. I'd say the second thing is that, and it's a similar point to what Dr. Reed had mentioned, is that, there is a kind of misconception too, that if you become a history major, then, the only thing you would do is teach. And on our website, you can see our alumni page, and we have people who have done all sorts of things like designing golf courses internationally, becoming directors of research institutes, going into law, going into finance. We have an event every year. It's basically a career night where we bring in people who have done things kind of outside of the realm of education to kind of showcase what you can do with a history degree based upon the skills that I had mentioned before. So it's a really great event that kind of highlights those things. Similar to English in philosophy and theology, because of the Western Civ program, we're a pretty large department in terms of faculty. But we don't have a million students. And so we do have, like English, we have a very strong advising and mentoring relationship with our students. We really get to know our students, and we really kind of pride ourselves on being a very kind of cordial and collegial type of department where, the students and the faculty with one another really kind of get along and like working with one another. We embrace the scholar-teacher model that was mentioned earlier. So we have a lot of people on our faculty who've won teaching awards for their scholarship, are kind of internationally renowned for their research, and are winning kind of international or nationally competitive fellowships and things like that. So it's a strong program. Should also mention that it's also, it's not just history, right? So we also have a growing classics program. So we also house the classics faculty, and we have 3 of them at this point. And so that includes not only historians of the ancient world, but also people who have specialties in classics, in interdisciplinary approaches, in language, like we have a philologist on our faculty as well. So we have a major and minor in both history and in classics. And we also have a major in history and secondary education, because Lord knows we definitely need more good teachers. So there is definitely that avenue as well. So there's a lot more that I could say, but please take a look at our website and our social media profiles to learn more. Feel free to reach out to me as department chair if you have any questions, and thank you for your interest in PC.
You did such an amazing, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dr. Graver.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you each did such an amazing job. I wanna go back and redo my 4 years and join your departments instead.
Please.
Loved my own program, but that all sounded so incredible. Students, send any questions you have for the professors in the chat, but I'm hoping you could each touch upon the Maymester programs and how those do often relate to history. I was fortunate enough to have done one at the end of my freshman year with Dr. Holland. So absolutely big proponent of those opportunities, but if you want to touch upon them a little bit, that'd be great.
I think I can do that first. I have run Maymester programs twice, and I would have run one last spring as well, but something intervened. I specialize in British Romantic literature, and especially in the works of William Wordsworth. And William Wordsworth's home is in the Lake District in England. At his actual home is the largest collection of his books and manuscripts in the whole wide world. There is no other writer that I can think of in which you have this. You're in a beautiful place that's been a tourist trap for 300 years. You have the books, you have the people who can show you how to use the books and the manuscripts, and you can go and actually we have dinner in his home of Dove Cottage when we're there. And we spend a week here on campus looking at studying the poems. And we go over there and people are given the manuscripts of the poems, taught how to handle manuscripts. And in the Wordsworth Museum, which is one of the award-winning small museums, they put together an exhibition that is left up over the summer with the students' names on it. And and we also, and besides all the work that we do over there, we do a lot of hiking and a lot of visiting of the kinds of places that Wordsworth wrote about. And you really just can't do that with, there's very few places that you can do that with. And it was really a life-changing event for me to be able to do it and for the students to participate. I've been going there for over 30 years and I'm good friends with lots of folks. And if I could die there, I would. So.
For the Department of History and Classics, we've tried to really kind of boost up the Maymester programs over the course of the last few years. And similar to what Dr. Graver had said, last spring, obviously we couldn't do it. It obviously created kind of insurmountable problems. But for the last couple of years, we've run Maymester programs in Ireland. We had a few in Portugal and Spain. We did one a couple years ago, the Cold War in Eastern Europe. We've been to Japan, I think 3 times. We were supposed to do South Korea this year, but that was obviously when COVID hit, that didn't happen. So on the docket, if you do come to PC, on the docket and what's potentially lined up for the next few years would be another trip to Portugal and Spain, South Korea, and then one to Rome as well. So they really are a great opportunity to kind of do a deep dive into a specific place and then actually go and travel and experience it yourself.
Do either of you need an admissions advisor while you're there? Because I am definitely free every May that you ever need. May 1st, and then I'm finished. I'm hoping you could each talk a little bit about how your transition was in March and how things are going this fall, and how, we really do pride ourselves on those small classroom environments, but how that has kind of shifted in this virtual world that we're all trying to figure out together.
I can go first because I have the least to say. I was on sabbatical when everything happened in March. That put lots of pressure on August because I felt like I would be the only rookie in the department who hadn't yet mastered Zoom. But the first 4 weeks of classes, and I have been teaching on Zoom, for the first 4 weeks of classes this semester, I've gone really well. I have a small class. One of my classes, as Elizabeth described, 13 students. We meet once a week. It's a long session, but it's just been a wonderful experience each Monday afternoon. The students are always prepared, of course, but are able, particularly in that smaller group, to talk freely with or without small group sessions. So I've been really pleased so far. We all wish we could be in the classroom, and I'm one of them fervently, but I'm very pleased with the way the 4 weeks have gone, even on Zoom.
Yeah, and I would say overall in the department, we have a mix of people trying to do on campus, when possible. Obviously, we're shut down this week, but and then some doing hybrid and some doing Zoom. So, but everybody has made a really thoughtful choice and has really adapted their course specifically to the mode of delivery that they've chosen. And I'm getting very positive reports back from people with all modes of delivery about the engagement of the students and the way that the semester is unfolding. So none of us are happy that this is the situation that we're in, but we're all, I think, making the best of it. And I know that people are making a lot of effort to have individual meetings with students, small group meetings with students, to keep those relationships up that Suzanne mentioned are so important in the humanities programs.
And one thing that I think all of you have, oh, sorry, go for it.
I was just going to say I was actually in Prague when the shutdown happened last year for spring break. So we came home to 2 weeks of quarantine, and I've imagined having to teach online for probably longer than people have even thought it was possible. So I felt for myself there were things that I was able to anticipate that some others may not have been able to do quite so much. However, right now I'm teaching DWC Western Civ 101, and it's been really quite a pleasure to work with the freshmen and help them work their way into this system, which they of course were thrown into in high school last spring. And I'm finding that the engagement of the students, at least in my small seminars, has been really quite fine. And we're actually plowing ahead. And today we were talking about Thucydides and the Peloponnesian Wars, and next week it's going to be Plato and the Symposium, and I'm going to talk about Dionysian worship, which will set everybody's hair on end. So it'll be fun.
And Elizabeth, maybe the last thing I would just add to that is also just the kind of the spirit, last spring when this all happened, just kind of like the spirit and kind of camaraderie that we saw among the faculty. I mean, nobody, as Dr. Reed had said, nobody really wanted to be in this position, but it was really amazing as a department chair. And this was my first year as department chair too. So it was a very unusual year to be taking over that responsibility, but to see people kind of coming together, kind of working together, sharing ideas, adapting to new technologies. I mean, as a historian, you really kind of want to be in the archives. So it's obviously not an ideal situation for us because we can't get access to the sources that we necessarily need. But on the other hand, it's kind of opened our eyes to the wealth of digital databases that are out there that are not only kind of like for purchase in the library, but also just kind of open access. So I think for all of us, it's been a real learning opportunity for both the faculty and for the students to kind of rethink how we do our work in this particular landscape. So.
Absolutely, that's a great point. Dr. Moffat, did you have something to share too?
No, I was just kind of registering I was still here. So rude to turn off the video. But no, I would back that up. And, you know, one thing that in teaching the civ classes that I think many of my colleagues and myself are trying to do is, you know, someone earlier mentioned the kind of the student professor ratio and how we're able to work with students in the classroom. And I think in some ways that's been enhanced by going online. You know, we've been trying to make an effort to say, do you need us for anything? How can we help you? Because I said to my students, you know, I don't want, you know, you've got a lot of stressors going on right now, and I don't want my class to be a source of stress for you. I want it to be, if anything, a pleasure and part of our normal routine. And so, you know, I would just echo what others have said about, you know, the way that this crisis has brought in some ways the campus closer together.
And I think you're all touching upon exactly what I was hoping would come across, and that student to faculty relationship really is that relationship, and you're also accommodating and welcoming and supportive of all of the students on campus. So I think you all touched upon that in such a really great way. I was going to ask about academic advising and all of that, but you touched upon it anyway. One student's a little bit curious about how double majors or majoring and minoring may work within either your two departments or across the entire campus, and how you support students with that type of idea.
So,
I could jump in quick on that. So the English major is a 10-course major. The creative writing major is slightly bigger. It's 12 courses, but that leaves plenty of room for a double major. We have a lot of double majors. We have history, sociology, psychology, women's studies, American studies. I've had a finance double major. We have bio, English double majors. So all kinds of combinations. And the English major is actually quite easy. Also, if you were to study abroad, there are a lot of courses that can count. So I think as opposed to the business courses that have a bit of a heavier load, the liberal arts courses are quite easy to double major and minor in. I think it's pretty standard that I either have a double major or say a major and 2 minors on my advisees loads.
I'd like to pitch in a little bit about the people doing pre-med majors. We have right now, I am in my upper level, 400 level literary criticism class. I have three students who are planning to go to med school in one form or another. The double major between bio and English and history or anything in humanities strengthens your med school application immeasurably. And we have not only a track record of these students doing it at the college, but their record of getting into top level med schools is much better than those who strictly major in the sciences, because medicine is not just about science. It's about dealing with human beings and understanding human emotion and understanding how to counsel people. And we offer, you know, a real supplement to the sciences in that regard.
yeah, for history and classics, similar to English, it's really easy to do a double major. I mean, we do have a small handful of students who do, you know, history and classics, but you know, more frequently it would be history and English, or history and political science. A lot of times we have a lot of those double majors. You know, it's a really flexible major. It only is 11 courses. Study abroad is very easy to do. We're trying to kind of boost that and encourage that as well. Then the other thing, you know, that's important too is that at Providence College, we have a core curriculum where you have to take courses in things like civic engagement and oral communication and writing and all those things. And the history department has a lot of courses that fulfill those requirements. And so you can take a course, we even have, much to the chagrin of some of our colleagues, we even have a small handful of courses that fulfill a theology requirement because we have, you know, trained historians of religion and theologians on our staff as well. And so it's easy to double major, you know, also partially because you can kind of fulfill a lot of those proficiencies when you're in the major anyways. And so I would echo what Dr. Reed had said too about a lot of our students are either double majors or double minors or something. It's really easy to do with these programs.
And then you lose your mouse on your screen as you try to unmute yourself. I do think it's really great to students. We do have a brand new communications minor that I think a lot of, especially those English creative writing students, may enjoy having that somewhat business twist on that program with that minor. I think that's a great little extra addition you could look into moving forward. Any words of wisdom for our prospective students as they try to navigate this world? I can do the admission side, but as they start to figure out what major makes the most sense for them, really kind of that why Providence, why this program at Providence kind of idea.
Study what you love. Study what you love. That's what you should do, and the rest kind of falls into place. That would be my advice.
That's exactly the best way to do well in college, is to choose the courses that fulfill you the most. Those will be the most engaging, and you'll flourish there. You'll do better than forcing yourself into a major you think you should be taking right now.
Yeah, I want to echo that 100%. I actually put that in the chat. I said, follow what you love.
Yes, very good.
I mean, that's it. I mean, and don't, if there is going to be some, a lot of times there's external pressure to major in a particular major because you think there will be financial rewards at the end. You will be successful if you're doing what you love every day. You're not going to feel like it's work, and you're going to be really successful at it regardless. So look into and start to think about the programs that might interest you and base it entirely on what you're interested in, what you want to follow and what you want to pursue.
Our majors have careers, for instance, in fields like software development. We have the head of a major healthcare software company that the head marketing man is one of our people. We have people in these headhunter games who are out there recruiting executives for various kinds of positions. We have people in television and journalism. We have people doing all kinds of exciting things, because what we teach in the humanities is research skills, critical thinking skills, and most important of all, writing skills. And those skills go across all professions. They do, and quite frankly, is my speaker not working?
It's better now.
Okay, and quite frankly, most people change careers, and if you lock yourself into a major that only prepares you for one career, you find yourself lost at some point in your life. I didn't change careers, but I'm weird, so.
Any other questions for our professors here, students, before we keep plugging along with the rest of our afternoon? Anything that I haven't asked of you all that you're dying to share with our students? Something I've left out that they need to know about the Providence College experience? Again, the Humanities building is one of my favorites on campus. The Great Room is a great place for maybe a cat nap next to the fire. I won't say that too out loud, but it's a great spot to definitely get some good reading in. Great study space for students too. Wonderfully decorated at Christmas time.
I think the professors catnap there more than students. So.
Yes.
Anything else? Wonderful. Well, thank you all for spending this great, quick, but very impactful and information-filled afternoon with us. We'll continue on to start to talk about the Center for Engaged Learning. Dr. Moffat, if I could ask you to stick around for just a little longer. We'll keep moving forward with everything, but thank you all for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back to to the beginning. If you don't mind just giving like a little rundown on the full core curriculum, I wholeheartedly appreciate the overall development of Western Civ side. But as we started to hear a little bit about the extra pieces of that core, the oral proficiencies, the civic engagements, all of that kind of stuff, do you mind just touching upon that a little bit?
Yeah, I can do that. I didn't prepare for this, so it's all sort of off the top of my head. Providence College has a core curriculum. It's a rigorous core curriculum, but it's also a core curriculum in which you have a lot of choice. And let me indicate what that is. There are some requirements. For instance, you have to take a class in the social sciences, class in the natural sciences, 2 theologies, 2 philosophies, and quantitative, what's called quantitative reasoning, which is math or something that's kind of mathematically based. There are also a number of proficiencies that you have to demonstrate. And the theory is that you gain those proficiencies through your major. Like, for instance, Dr. Andrews was talking about in the history major, they offer, as does the English department, a lot of classes that fulfill those proficiencies. So for instance, diversity is one of those proficiencies, writing 1, writing 2, so developing your writing skills. Oral proficiency, teaching you to speak in front of people. And there's one of them, civic engagement is the other one. Now that sounds very restrictive. Some schools don't have quite as many requirements for the core curriculum. But in fact, what happens is you have a ton of choice within those requirements. For instance, a writing class could be done in the English department, it could be done in the history department, it could be done in many other departments that also offer writing. A requirement like diversity, for instance, could be fulfilled in many different ways that will fit nicely with whatever major you select. And so there are number of classes that meet these various requirements and proficiencies. So in taking these classes, and of course some of them you'll meet over the course of doing your major as well, or minor work as well. And so in taking this class, you'll have all sorts of choices. I remember looking back in the pre-Stone Age when I was an undergraduate, getting the undergraduate catalog for the first time and just opening up, and it was this kind of book of wonders, right? There were all of these courses you could take and so many things. And I hope you'll feel that way when you come to Providence College and sign up for courses for the first time. There are just so many possibilities you can explore. You might not be completely certain of what it is that you want to take, but you can explore, and in doing so, in exploring, you'll be meeting these proficiencies that you need to work towards graduation.
That was perfect. Thank you for going back on that. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Students, we're going to kind of look over towards what that extra piece of Providence is. So you've heard about the core curriculum, more specifically that development of Western Civ program. You've heard from the departments. So I want to talk a little bit about that scholarship and creativity aspect, that above and beyond piece of who Providence College is. So to share my screen a little bit, Dr. Moffat, you're perfect now. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Let me move this over here. We are sharing this screen. Awesome. So students, one of the big pieces about who Providence College is that extra component of being a primarily undergraduate institution. So that means that all of our students do have the opportunity to take full advantage of this upper level research opportunity. It's something that you can be paid to do during your 4 years, be paid to do over the summer, but stay involved with throughout your 4 years. It could be something you receive class credit for, different things like that. So it really just allows our students to take that above and beyond component of our campus community. What I think is really great about this as well is that it's a lot of times student driven. So on this page here, you can see our scholarship and creativity. We do host a big celebration every single April, and it really is a celebration of scholarship and creativity because our students are the ones coming up with the questions that they then want to spend time researching. It's not something that you are following your professors doing and just kind of getting involved as their second hand sort of thing. A lot of our students are coming up with the question that they're most curious about and then have that faculty support to really figure out what that's going to mean. We do have a number of students, like I was saying, stay for the summer and receive that $4,000 stipend to be on campus and do research. But you can see a number of the different opportunities here. I think this one is a really great one right now, especially about resilience on campus and how we're all kind of going through this shared experience, but are really going to come out on the other side that much stronger. Give me one moment to get this video all set here for us, and then I'll play that. Sorry, it was loading for me as we were chatting. But again, as you have questions, feel free to send those in the chat. Happy to talk through everything. So you can see that even in this virtual world, we really took the time to celebrate our students and continue to showcase all that they have accomplished throughout the year, and really just make sure that we do celebrate all of our individuals. So all of our students normally would have presented those presentations in person on campus, but we were still able to really hear all of that dynamic thinking that our students take full advantage of. We do have one of our current students joining us now. Julia, I'm gonna promote you up here. Let me get you, there we go.
Okay, I cannot start my video for some reason.
You should be able to now.
Okay, perfect.
There we go, awesome, thank you. Julie is one of our current students and really here to give that extra student experience and story. Julie, if you wanna give a quick little intro about who you are, and then definitely diving into all of your student involvement, academic involvement, what it means to be an English major, double major at that, and really take full advantage of all that you have to share with us.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Mccoy. I am a junior English and political science double major. I'm from Methuen, Massachusetts, and I am a member of the Liberal Arts Honors Program. A couple of things that I'm involved in on campus are admissions ambassadors, which is why I'm speaking to you today. I write for the opinion section of The Cowl, which is our student-run newspaper. I am a member of the English Honor Society as of last semester. I do play intramural and club sports, including club racquetball. I'm also a member of PC's Active Minds, so we talk about mental health on campus. And I am joining a kind of newer club called Friars Vote, where we kind of get students involved in voting and registering to vote and make sure you know kind of what's going on in the upcoming elections and stuff like that. So kind of a lot of different clubs and a lot of different aspects of campus. So if anyone has any questions about those, super happy to answer. It's my third year in the English major, so I've taken a lot of different classes over a lot of different disciplines, which is really fun. It's great to explore. So a couple of my favorites have been utopia and dystopian literature, Toni Morrison, and my current class, which is the history of the English language, where we kind of learn how we get the words that we speak now, which is really cool. So that's an overview of me as an English major. Yeah, feel free to ask as many questions as you need to.
Wonderful, and Emma's here to join us now as well too. Another one of our amazing current students to give you that full student perspective on everything. Emma, if you don't mind doing just a quick little rundown, who you are, what you do, all of that kind of stuff.
Hey everyone, so my name is Emma. I'm a sophomore. I'm an English major and I'm minoring in Spanish, poli-sci, and philosophy. On campus, yeah, it sounds like more than it is. It really doesn't break down into that much. On campus, I'm involved in Student Congress, Admission Ambassadors, and Student Alumni Association. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Awesome. And such a mouthful of things that you're studying. Can you kind of explain a little bit more? We talked about double majors earlier and how, you know, there are some things that cross over, but how you came to find all of those extra programs, and do you just spend all day reading?
Yeah, so I came in freshman year undeclared. I was just having a really hard time figuring out what I loved and what I wanted to focus on. And so I took just a bunch of classes. My advising day faculty member helped me to kind of figure out which classes seemed interesting to me. And then I got assigned an undeclared advisor. His name's Mr. Nelson. He was wonderful. He would send me emails for people to talk to about any like material I was interested in or any program I was interested in. And then I just couldn't decide on just one major or just one minor. So I looked at all of the requirements. I went to the heads of departments and I looked at the class breakdowns, and it was doable. I'm not taking more than 5 classes a semester, and the maximum you can take is 6. So it's not that bad.
Perfect. I think it gives students just that understanding of, you know, really study what you love throughout your 4 years and take full advantage of everything. We have a really great question of speaking about the English creative writing or English creative writing major and any details about Active Minds. Really great club on campus, so important right now, but if you guys don't mind touching upon that.
So I can't speak much about the creative writing major. I don't know if anyone else can, but I can definitely plug Active Minds right now. So it's basically a way for our campus to break the stigma around mental health. Everyone deals with mental health in their own way. I think that it would be silly of us to think that no one is like free from those kinds of thoughts. So it's just a really good way to kind of have open conversations about, you know, how we're feeling and how we can maybe feel better on campus. They promote the counseling center a lot, which is a really great resource that we have on campus. It's just kind of another person to talk to that can help you through all of it. But what's great about Active Minds is that it's student run. So you'll be talking to people that are only maybe 3 years older than you. Very open discussions. One of my favorite things that they have is a fishbowl. So you can ask anonymous questions about what you're going through, what your friends are going through, basically like anything that's going on campus. And they'll have like the host of the meeting will bring up those questions, and then any student that's there can answer them and help you, give you advice, and no one has to know that you're the one asking it. So it's a really great way to kind of have conversations, but also not make you uncomfortable if you don't want to be.
That's perfect. And I really do love the student-led aspect of it all. And there are events throughout every year. This is not a brand new club that came up this year. Active Minds throughout all of college is so important. And to know that it is that shared experience going through the 4 years together. You're going to have a lot of resources throughout all 4 years, but to know that that extra support system is there, I think is so important. As far as the English creative writing major, I apologize, that's not my area of expertise either. But I do think it gives students that really great opportunity to, yes, of course, still be reading, but more so focused on that writing aspect of, if you want to write poetry, you can write poetry. If you want to write the essay, you can write the essay, and really get more of that flexibility of just being a better writer. Julie, I'm sure you can touch upon the COWL side of it too, and knowing that students have that outlet, but then also that alembic that Dr. Reed was talking about earlier. You get that opportunity. That is more of that structured literary style, but still gives you the opportunity to really hone in on your writing skills. We do also have a slam poetry competition, we'll call it, that comes up every semester. can't say I've attended it as a staff member, but I don't know if either of you have.
Sadly, no. But I can touch on how the CAL and the Alembic are definitely like great outlets for any student too. The really cool thing is that like obviously as a college student of any major, you have the ability to write, and the CAL is open applications for any major. So my editor-in-chief this year is actually a history major, and she is one of the best writers I've ever met in my life. But yeah, it is a great outlet for people who are interested in the creative writing major, minor, and then the writing minor that we have in addition, which is more of like a technical writing. So you learn journalism in those types of classes, and it's a really great way to kind of extend your coursework into kind of an extracurricular that the whole campus gets to read. I think it's really fun when I write something that I'm passionate about. And we have an online cowl, so I can share it on Facebook and have all my friends see it. It's just a really great way to kind of get involved on campus and also kind of use what you're learning in class to keep it going.
And I do know that the English department has a really thorough website. And so if you just go into the search bar and you type in Providence College Creative Writing Major, it'll pop up with a website, like the first link that you can find, and it will tell you all the classes you would have to take and give you information about what you'll be focusing on. So that's a good resource.
Absolutely. What really brought the two of you to your individual departments? Emma, I know you explained that undeclared process and what that really looked like, but I think one of the things that our faculty members earlier were really touching upon is study what you love and the rest comes. What advice do you give to students trying to figure out what it actually is that they love, or how to say, you know, I love to read, does that mean I want to be an English major, or how all of that kind of comes into focus for each of you?
I would definitely say kind of following the professors from earlier, I guess, to do what you love. I, throughout high school, was obsessed with like English and reading and trying to figure out what it all meant. And I did have those people that were like, oh, well, what are you going to do with like a humanities major? Like, what does that even mean? And it made me a little bit nervous, but after going through the classes and talking to all of my professors, like there are so many real world applications for any major, any humanities major, any business major, any science, like you will have opportunities once you graduate. So I think that my advice would be to not think about that right away and to take classes that you're interested in. Make sure that you're kind of, if you're questioning anything, take one class in each department that you might be interested in. I'm sure Emma can attest to that as well. But for instance, like I was interested in art history. I took a couple classes in that. I loved it. I just realized that it might not be the right major for me. So it was a good kind of testing the waters type of process. But definitely do whatever you feel passionate about. And I think that it'll all work out in the end in terms of the future. And if you're passionate enough about something, you'll find a way.
I would also add, definitely when you come to campus and you have your first few classes, reach out to your professors and meet with them and just say, oh, I'm interested in this department. Can you tell me anything about it? Do you think I would be a good fit? Then they can become really good resources for you. They can direct you to other people who might know more, and they can help you years later. Like I still contact some of my professors that I had last year who helped me when I have questions or problems, and so that's a really good, I think people are really willing to help you and they want to help you find what you love. So
Julia, I love when you tell the story about your faculty or your advisor this year who switched up his office hours a little bit. Can you give the rundown on what that actually means?
Yeah, so my advisor, my English advisor is Dr. Moffat, who I'm pretty sure everyone met earlier. He's the head of the Development of Western Civilization program, but he's also my English advisor. And I've known him for about 3 years now. So one of the coolest things about like the advising process is that you can go to your advisor's office hours, and that's when you kind of meet and ask any questions that you might need to. We like to relate it to kind of going to a teacher's classroom after school and asking whatever questions are on your mind. For that works for both professors and advisors, so you can do that when you have a question about a class. For my advisor though, I ask him kind of if I'm thinking about a future career path, if I'm thinking about grad school. I basically email him every single question that I have, and he's very receptive, always open to talking. And he's so open to meeting with us that this year he decided to host office hours under a tree. So he'll come to campus, and right now, because of all the restrictions and stuff, professors aren't allowed to host students inside of their offices. But just last week, he was sitting under a tree outside the library with 2 camp chairs. And my friends all walked by him and saw him and told me to go meet with him. And unfortunately, I had class, so I didn't even get to go. But I am scheduling another one as soon as he gets back under that tree. But honestly, like, that story just goes to show you, like, how much they're here for you, how much they want to, they want you to succeed. They want you to ask whatever questions you need to feel comfortable. I know I came into college kind of worried about asking the right questions and making sure I didn't look stupid when I was asking questions. I can tell you that there is no question that's going to make your advisor or your professor be like, oh, like, she doesn't belong here, he doesn't belong here. They've been through it all, they've heard all the questions, and they know that you're adjusting. So just ask whatever questions you need to ask.
Can you both talk about the more student side of things? We've touched upon Active Mind, the other things that you're involved with on campus, all of that. What's your favorite tradition on campus? More of that student experience, please.
So I am a part of Student Congress, which I absolutely love. It's about 100 people from all different grades, and so you get a chance to really know a ton of different people from different years and different majors and minors, and it is a really great way to know people who you wouldn't necessarily meet otherwise. We have speakers every week come and talk to us from different departments on campus, and so right away freshman year it helped me feel super situated on campus, that I had information and contacts from the dean's office, the advising office, just every facet of life basically, which I loved. And it's a few meetings every week. You get a chance to kind of go out, leave your room, socialize with a bunch of different people, and I really am happy to be on that club.
So I'm going to start with my favorite tradition, and then I'll kind of work backwards. I have 2. So one of them is kind of a once-a-year event. We have our Midnight Madness for the basketball team. Last year, we went to the Dunkin' Donuts Center, which is in downtown Providence, and basically they introduced the basketball team. They all have their own walk-up songs. My favorite thing of last year was that number 22 on our basketball team played 22 by Taylor Swift as he ran out, which I thought was hilarious. And then afterwards, it's kind of like a big concert. So John Legend performed for all of us last year. We kind of ran onto the floor of the Dunkin' Donuts Center and we're packing the stage. It was really cool.
I am still devastated. I had a college fair and wasn't able to go.
It was once in a lifetime.
Definitely a bitter moment still for me.
Yeah, so obviously everyone was super excited to be there. I think it was open to alumni, parents, students, basically anyone who cares about PC at all could go. So it was a really great way to kind of bring everyone together, all the different generations of this Friar family that we have. And then more of a weekly event that I think is a really great tradition is our late night mass. So that happens at 10 p.m. on Sundays. They call it Last Chance Mass. A lot of people will show up in their pajamas. So it's kind of your last chance before the school week starts to get a fresh start and kind of take a quick break, which I think is really cool. And after the actual mass, which happens in St. Dom's Chapel, you go down to the basement of the church, and all the campus ministry workers have made you all the food you can possibly think of, which is always amazing. They usually do it themed. So one time I went to a mass that took part in Spanish for a little bit, and then we went downstairs and there was Spanish themed food. So really kind of different types of food that you might not be expecting. When you go to the dining hall or something like that, you'll get it at this Last Chance Mass, which I think is really cool. And then I guess the last piece of involvement that I want to touch on is definitely the intramural and club sports that I talked about a little bit earlier. So my freshman year I came in, I had never played racquetball in my life. I'm sure that's the case for most high school students coming into college. But my roommate's sister was on the club racquetball team here. And she was like, it's so fun. It's just like a really nice way to de-stress, you know, take a break from your week. And I was like, I'll try it. So I went down there and I went in this like little room, as you do in racquetball. And it was just so fun to like be with all my friends. I ended up we recruited like 15 people to come with us last year. So our team got bigger. It's not as competitive as some of our other club sports that go like travel for tournaments and stuff like that. But it's definitely a good way to kind of stay competitive and stay active while also just like having a good time.
Between club and intramural are definitely ways to stay active on campus. Students, as we start to wrap up this afternoon, do you have any additional questions that you really want to make sure you are able to ask of Julia and Emma or myself? Happy to talk about the admission process. There's a number of other ways where you will hear about that piece of it. We have a number of other really great opportunities throughout this fall semester. Most specifically, though, are 2 fall open house opportunities on Saturday, October 3rd and Saturday, October 17th. The event on the 3rd does also include a live campus tour. It's virtual, but it's live. So you are actively seeing campus as we go around our community. So it really does give you a great way to see Friartown through this virtual world that we're all trying to figure out together right now. But I'm not seeing any additional, oh, there we go. Really great question. Do we track demonstrated interest in the admission process? We do not. We encourage students to attend our different programs simply so that you are more knowledgeable about the process. But you don't get like an extra check mark on your application if you do attend our different programs. We just want to make sure that all students are as informed as they can be and making the right decision for themselves moving forward. But it is a really great question. Every single student has an admission counselor within our office. I personally work with students from 4 different counties in Connecticut: New Haven, Middlesex, Litchfield, and Waterbury. I have Nassau County on Long Island, and then I have Orlando North in the state of Florida. That is my hometown area. So in a normal year, it's always really great to get a trip to Disney in during my recruitment process. But I encourage you to reach out to your specific counselor. All of that is listed on the website. Really, again, just to create that relationship and be more knowledgeable so that all of your questions do get answered as you continue with this college search process. But my very long-winded answer, just to go back and say, no, we do not track demonstrated interest. See if any other questions come through. Julia and Emma, what final words of wisdom do you have to share with our prospective students as they navigate the college admission process?
My advice is always to ask questions. I know I talked about it earlier, but if you can get in touch with even like the heads of the departments that you might be interested in before you kind of make your final decision about a college, reach out to those admissions counselors that Liz was talking about. I can leave my email in the chat so that if you have any questions about kind of the more personal student perspective, I'm happy to answer them. I love writing emails. It's like one of my favorite things.
It's almost like you're an English major.
I know. But yeah, anyone that you meet and you have a question about, especially here at Providence, we're happy to answer it. I know like my friends are happy to like stop and give people directions even. We just love like kind of talking about Providence in any possible way that we can. So we're always happy to help.
I would advise you, I know it's easier said than done, but don't stress so much about the admission process or once you get here, you know, deciding on your major or thinking if you should change your major or add a minor, because everything that's meant to happen will happen and it's not as stressful as it seems. And so you will end up where you're meant to, and you'll have a good time regardless of what major or minor you choose.
Absolutely. Thank you both for spending this afternoon with us and answering all the questions that have come through. Students, if you have any additional ones, here is your wrapping up moment to send those along. We'll see if there's any other questions. But I hope that this really gave you a good overview of Providence College and the academic opportunities from the core curriculum to actually studying one of our programs on campus and all of the opportunities in between. as well as that student experience, getting involved with Active Minds or any of our other clubs, Student Congress, the school newspaper, anything like that. It's such a environment where we really do love seeing students jump in with both feet, both academically and then within their club and activity involvement. So I really do hope that this gave you a good overview of our school itself and what it means to study the humanities at Providence. If you have any additional questions, do not hesitate to reach out to any of us. We're more than happy to help you moving forward, but I hope you enjoyed and have a great rest of your day.